Hello? Testing. Testing. Can you test that mic? Yep.
Hello, test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got it?
Testing. Testing.
Hey, I'll ask him.
Let's we will see if we can.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, you're doing
Between the conference and
yeah.
DPI-SIG website, checking how we what's described again or not.
And I forgot to, I forgot to. One time, you thought me taking that off there was what was causing it. So I would take them off. So I'll take them off.
Had 3 of them.
Yeah, I'll start taking them off again and see what happens.
That may not be it. I don't see. I don't know.
I think it is. It's probably is.
Maybe I can set up my program so that make sure that something never runs unsubscribed. All right, is it time? Time.
Is it
I
time?
got 7 o'clock.
We ready? I gotta wait for the thumbs up.
25 seconds.
I could take a nap. Oh, geez.
We went over.
You just got back, didn't you? Yeah.
Spent the day over with my granddaughter over there.
Yeah. How'd she do?
Good. We went over to Butterfly.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Get started. Take any seat. Anyone that's open. Good to see so many people here tonight. That's great. So good evening. Welcome to our 232nd meeting. Are there any new members here tonight? One new member. Fine. You want to stand up and tell us who you are and what you do? You don't have to, but very good. Welcome. Any other new members? Any guests here tonight? Oh, good. You want to stand up and say who you are? Very good. Yes, sir. Okay. Welcome. Anybody else? Yes. Yes, sir. Thank you, Art. Thank you. Very good. All right, we have a free table. Be sure and check that out. And we also have a table with items for sale. So check both those out. And the free table, even if you can't use it, take it. We'd like to get rid of it. If you have any unwanted photography items, get a hold of me or anybody at DPI-SIG. And we're getting ready to have another auction. We'll have one in January. And so any items you aren't using and like to get rid of, we'll find a good home for, and it helps support the club. We'll mention just briefly, real quickly, that if you haven't signed up for the F3C conference in Bradenton, you definitely ought to. And when you do, as a DPI-SIG member, you get a $29 discount. It comes right off your ticket price, and then we make that up. The club makes that up to the conference. There'll be 7 door prizes tonight, and one of them is the presenter last month said everybody should read the book Steal Like an Artist. So there is one up there as a door prize. So everybody ought to read it, and there'll be one later. I got a couple of copies of it. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Marcel.
Good evening, good evening. You new people, I'm Marcel Stemples, and they selected me to be master of ceremonies because I'm the dumbest guy in the room, so they picked me. They said, who's the dumbest guy in the room that doesn't know anything? Let's pick him. Quick story, takes 1 second. I got a dog, I adopted a dog, I named him Egypt. They said that was his name, so I said, okay, I'll keep the name Egypt. They didn't tell me that he leaves a pyramid in every room in my house. Larry, that's the best I can do for tonight. I'm sorry. But that's the best I can do. Don't raise your hand. Yeah, well, it's hard to say no to Sonny. Asked me to be the treasurer of the FTC 100 years ago and said, you only got to write 3 checks a year. Yeah. That's all I did. It was true then. Yeah, F3C had minus $200 in the account in those days. Okay, first up, Chuck Bloom. 3 smartphone tips. I'm looking forward to that. Oh, I'm sorry. Blum. Sorry about that.
Okay.
I got the last name simple. Simple, sample, sample, sequence, everything but simple.
All right, I got 3+1 for iPhone users at the end. This is called the reverse macro hack. If you're struggling to focus on a tiny detailed subject, like the veins of a leaf or a small insect, your phone's autofocus might keep jumping to the background because it has trouble focusing. So what you do is put your hand out in front of the lens at the same distance as your subject to give the camera a larger surface to lock on. Then long press the screen to get the AE lock to lock. And then you can refocus, move over and focus on the particular subject. So it just makes it easier for your cell phone to focus on it. Any questions on that one? Number 2, if you're in the midday sun shooting, which sometimes we are, even though we know it's not the world's best, or near water, your phone can easily blow out the highlights, making the sky look white instead of blue. The easy trick, if it's a sunny day, you've got the way to fix it. Put your sunglasses in front of the lens.
Neutral density.
Yep. You got an ND filter that you're carrying around on your head. And you can put that right in front, and it reduces the glare and everything else. Just make sure you get as close as you possibly can to the lens. Mason jar underwater housing. You don't need professional waterproof case to get clear underwater or split shot, half above, half below. What you do is you take a clean, dry mason jar or a pitcher. and you stick your phone in it as close to the glass as possible, and then just lower it into the water. The mason jar is up here. The opening is up here. You put the top of your phone's here so it doesn't get wet, but you can layer it so that you're half in and half out of the water. Everybody follow that? Okay. By the way, I got these. I got these by asking an AI, give me 3 tips that are unusual for the iPhone or for the phone. Yes, I'm being honest. I get others from books and so on. Now, the one that I do not know if any Android has this, to take live photos and make them into long exposures. What you do is you take your shot in live and then use the long exposure loop, which is actually kind of hidden in there. You open the image in your gallery. So, you go to photos and open that. Or swipe up or tap the live icon in the corner and select long exposure. The phone will automatically stack the frames to blur the motion while keeping the surroundings sharp. So that's one for the iPhone because, again, I don't know if Android does that. Any questions on any of these? Pardon? The long exposure, yes. Yes, it does. It does work. And another one I literally just found, David and I were working with our phones, and the way they looked on the photos were different because I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but photos are usually like this, right? Again, on the iPhone. But if you go to the the hamburger bar and click View Options and then Aspect Ratio Grid, it changes your photos to like this. If you want it this way, which I don't. Any questions? Thank you.
You. Thanks. How many people here are members of the Naples Photography Club? Few. Okay, good. How many are members of Fort Myers Camera Club? Anybody? One at least. Cool. So we got some other clubs represented here tonight. I just wanted to point that out. I want to introduce Robert Bagliolid. Boy, work on last names. See if you can catch that one. And his son Cameron. Come on up, guys.
I never would have got that one.
Yeah, I know. I know. I had to ask him before just to make sure I got it right. Robert and I are neighbors. You had to remind me about the dog. No, the dog problem is my dog died on January 1st. Her name is Pixel, and the light has gone out. We used to walk dogs together. So Robert has a camera store in Canada, and I bought a camera from him a couple of years ago now, Sony A7R5. Great service, no problems. He has an announcement that he'd like to share with you, and I think you're going to like it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Malin.
Yep.
Hello, everybody. My name is Robert, as Malin said. This is my son, Cameron. So we have been living here in the winter months in Naples since 2009. And throughout the years, I was younger. I couldn't come down very much. Cameron is a baseball player and he's a pitcher. And he tried out for Naples High while he was in Canada, and they took him. So he graduated out of Naples College, or not Naples College, Naples High School, and he went to school in Mercyhurst in Erie, and he played ball there. He graduated with business and economics and marketing. And our business in Canada is 54 years old. It's a family-run business. My dad had it, and I purchased it from him. And now I have another son who's running the store in Canada, and we work together daily. And I'm down here in the hot, and he's up there in the snow, right? So, but Cameron, Cameron expressed a big interest in photography and stuff, and there's a market that's not being looked after in Naples. So the announcement tonight is we're going to open up a Bel Art Camera 2.0 in Naples. Yeah, thank you. We uh, we have a letter of intent. We've got a spot picked out. I'd like to tell you about the spot, but I don't have it signed yet. It'll be in Kings Lake, where the Publix is there, and we're looking at a store at about 2,500 square feet. Um, you know, I do a lot in Canada. I'm known as a police specialist. I deal with police companies for photography right across Canada. Do you guys have any questions for me? I'd like to make the full announcement, but I can't yet because we're waiting to sign documents. But we're hoping to be running by the middle of March to the end of March if we get our permits and stuff like that. Yeah. Yes, sir. No, it's multi-brand. Like at home, we carry everything. We carry Sony, Fuji, Nikon, Canon, Olympus, Panasonic. We're gonna have that here. Are you guys familiar with ProMaster or Pro Products? Yeah. So I am a ProMaster dealer in Canada, and I worked with ProMaster in the United States in our buying group in Canada to align ourselves and work together. So we will be a full-fledged pro dealer down here. Yes, sir.
Are you gonna offer any photographic services, let's say, ancient things like film and
Yep.
developing?
That's a great question. We do film at home back in Canada, and we do 500 rolls a week. It's crazy. And when when I'm going to tell you the age category that brings the film in are kids from 18 to 30. They're like 80% of that 500 roll count. Yeah, and it's great because it's young customers. When I watch them open up their when I watch them, they get their film and their pack of prints. They go in a corner. It's like them opening up a Christmas gift, and they're going through them, and then they'll have some questions. And all our staff is seasoned, like we're a little bit older, right? And I grew up on film, so we're able to help them. And if they have shutter problems with their cameras, because a lot of them buy cameras at like the the used stores, the thrift stores, and sometimes they don't work, right? And they don't know, they think they've done something wrong. So we help them with that. Yes, sir. Yeah, we'll be doing that. Yep, we'll be doing that. Yep, for sure. Yes.
Unfortunately, I tore my labrum college, so I had to quit. But happy to focus in on this now. I grew up around my dad's store a lot, so I have a passion for it. I'm very excited. I didn't throw too hard. I threw about 85, but I had some. Don't worry, Nate. Great place.
There you go, Ken. Excited, and I thank Malin for allowing me to come here. In Canada, we're big supporters of camera groups, and we get heavily involved with our community, and we'd like to do that here as well. We do, but it's not this company yet because it's not set up. But if you go to bellart.ca, I have some business cards. Maybe I'll just leave a couple with Malin. You can kind of see what we do back home. We're we're your typical brick and mortar store, right? We do online sales too. We're on Amazon. We're all over the place, but we strive on customer service and we care about our customers, right? Because if we don't have customers, we're not around. So we'd like to put that spin off in here and help you guys. So we'll let you know when we're up and running. So, but thank you very much. So I want to stay but I have like walking pneumonia, and I've gone around to get. I'm not contagious, but I've walked around. I've gone around to a couple of drugstores tonight. Kim's gone to get me some meds, and nobody has them, and they have something on radio. So I'd like to go get it before they close. But I'm not contagious. Thank you very much.
All right. I'll tell you a true story real quick about my shoulder. I broke my arm right at the ball. And I had to go to therapy. So when I first went to the therapy section in building after I, got out of the cast and so forth, part of the therapy was they had these clothespins, and you're supposed to grab a clothespin as high as you can. So the nurse, she said, I'd like you to grab a clothespin as high as you can. So I went like this, and I stood up and I grabbed the clothes. She said, no, you're supposed to raise your arm. So I said, well, I can't raise my arm. That's why I had to stand up to grab the clothespin. Okay. It wasn't a joke. It's a true story. It wasn't a joke. Okay. Jim Robillard, mastering focus stacking.
Well, you got it. Did you turn it on?
No,
You have to open it up and turn it on.
turn it on.
Then take it off and then.
What's that?
Oh, okay. Well,
Systems. Turn that one on. Okay. Hang on. It's hard to do YouTube and the speech at the same time, but I've got my trusty assistant, YouTube people. It's Malin. All right, tonight we're going to talk about mastering focus stacking for macro and landscape. There's a $10 surcharge for you. Oh, okay. All right, here's what we're going to cover tonight. Okay. Um, so we're going to talk a little bit about landscape close-up and high magnification, uh, focus bracketing versus focus stacking, what the difference is, why you may need to stack, and some capture techniques and some live demos, sort of live. They were videoed. And then we'll look at the two software options, although there are other ones other than Helicon and Photoshop. You'll see the difference between the two. You can also do it in Zarine or you can do it in Neo Luminar. And we'll try one over there with the camera and then some questions. So the problem with a single photo course is that the depth of field is limited. And so if you look at a chart like this, if you're doing landscapes, if you're at 5.6, the range is 11 to 125. If you're all the way over at F22, you got a lot more. You got 4.6 to infinity. The question for landscape is, what if you have that situation where you've got the rock here, you got the tree out there, and you got the mountain up there? How do you get all of them in? It becomes even more of an issue when you're talking about like flower images. And certainly if you're talking about insects. So you can see here, if you're 24 inches away, at 5.6, you only got less than a half an inch. If you're 12 inches away, now you're down to 0.08. And if you're 6 inches away, you're in deep doo-doo because it's really, really tiny. It's in fractions of a millimeter. So how do we deal with that? Well, first of all, the question that we won't answer till the end is how did they deal with it? I mean, look at both these photographs. We've seen them. There's the rock. There's the mountains. Clyde's got his lily pads. So how did they do it? Does anybody know? Oh, Nick knows. What a smart aleck. And we have a view camera and we'll demonstrate that. So they had they're only doing one exposure, so they can't do anything, but they have the advantage of physics of the camera, and we don't have that. So what do we do? Well, we can combine them by putting multiple images together in a stack. The confusion comes in the terminology stacking versus bracketing. So, even when a small aperture like f/22 doesn't cut it, there are ways to do it by stacking these images. So focus bracketing, and this is where the terminology gets mixed up a little bit, is the actual process of taking the photos in the individual stack. So they may be 3, maybe 6. For an insect, it may be 100 or 200. Then the process where you put the images together in the stacking part of it is really the software part of it. Now, some of the newer cameras will do it in the camera, although not very well. And generally, it'll put it out as a JPEG. So like an Olympus or an OM1 system, you can do 15 pictures. It'll create one in the camera. Canons do it. It's not very good. So that's why the software becomes important. And you can do it in Photoshop. You'll see the advantages of Photoshop, and you'll see the disadvantages of Photoshop. So we hear the term diffraction, and we'll get into that in a moment with some actual pictures. But even at f/22, you really can't get it. You really need to stay at your lens's sweet spot, which is typically, in that 5, 6, 8, or 11. Beyond that, you get to 22. You'd think it'd be really sharp, but I'm going to show you a close-up, and you can really see the difference. When you're doing focus stacking, the things to avoid, though, are moving subjects and changing lights, because you're going to be stacking multiple images over a period of time. If the insect is moving, the flower is blowing in the wind, not going to work. If there's changing light back and forth, that's going to confuse Photoshop or Helicon. So that's a no-go. So, it's great for non-windy days, overcast days, or using a flash. So some of the best practices for landscape: using a tripod, although I'm going to demonstrate how to do it handheld. Handheld is possible, but it takes some practice. The issue isn't that it's not possible, it's the steadiness, because now you're introducing motion. So while there are techniques, and you can close your elbows in and have a point of contact at your eye, that creates some problems, but it is doable. Shooting raw, manual focus, if you're going to, which we'll demonstrate for landscape, it's easier to do it in manual focus, and then overlap the zones and avoid small apertures that would introduce the diffraction. So for landscapes, I would recommend 3 to 6 images, and if you can achieve a higher shutter speed, which is one of the reasons in landscape to do it, because if you tried to go to f/22, and I think you'll see it in the example, you're going to be down at a lower shutter speed, if you're at ISO 100 or 200. So you're either going to have to go way up in ISO, or you're going to go way down in shutter speed. That's going to aggravate any of the bushes, the grass is moving, the bird flying across. So there's an actual advantage with landscape if you're at 5, 6 and jack up the shutter speed. Okay, here we are in Marsh Trail. Now, how do you get it to play the video? Here we are in the fog, so this is going to be a great long distance. How can you get it to play? I'll get it to play. There it is. Okay. Okay, we're out here at Marsh Trail, and we're going to do a landscape and demonstrate focus stacking for landscape. So this we'll be shooting at 35 millimeter. So we get the bush, the mangrove in the middle, and the far side of the pond there. And we'll just wait until the fog lifts a little, And we're getting there, and that's basically what the scene is going to look like. We'll see how it turns out. Okay, let's try this from a different perspective. We'll move down here and try and get manual focus. These bushes right on the bottom of the frame in focus. Take a picture. We'll take a shot. We'll move over to the tree here on the move out to where those birds are on that little island. Yes. And we'll try and go. You could use the touch screen on the back, but it's being recorded, so the touch screen doesn't work. In focus over there. And we'll see how that turns out. All right, let's take a look at these images we shot this morning. We'll start with the foggy one here. The fog, of course, is going to distort a little bit the focus in the distance, but we can work with that. So here are the four here highlighted in red from this stack. We'll highlight those. The develop module will just hit auto to start with. I know I want to warm it up, so we'll go to shade. We'll push that up a little bit. Maybe give it a little bit of clarity and a little bit of dehaze. And then the most important part is here. Right now we have it turned on auto sync. Yours will probably be on sync. So you want to sync it. You want to do a check all, and you want to auto sync all of them before you either send it to Photoshop or to Helicon. With that done, we can now go to Photo, edit in. We'll do Photoshop first. Open as layers in Photoshop. Photoshop's going to open. And this is the part that takes a long time. And you'll see it takes a little bit of time in Photoshop, which is the disadvantage. Although with 4, 5, 6 images, it's that big a deal. It does take a few minutes, as you'll see. Now with all 4 images, use the Shift key to highlight all of them. It was up under. Okay, we're out here at Marsh Trail. Shouldn't have done that. We're going to do a landscape and demonstrate. Fired my assistant. And you want to auto sync all of them. And you'll see it takes a little bit of time in minutes. It was up, you'll see it was under edit. We're going to, it's got to load first. Now with all 4 images, use the Shift key to highlight all of them. Go to Edit, Auto Align Layers, and we'll auto align the layers, which shouldn't take much alignment because, as you recall, we're on a tripod this morning. So it's aligned. So now we'll go down and edit again, auto blend layers. You want to choose stacked image, and we'll stack the images. So while that's talking, again, the issue when you are moving is, of course, when we do the it'll be harder. Same sequence in Helicon. It is much faster. We're about half done, and now we're complete. And you can see the masks that it generated to use the different parts of the images are here. And we'll, since they're all highlighted, we will do a Shift Control Alt E and put a stamped layer on top. And we'll take the magnifying glass and just look at this stuff. Having done this before, I can tell you there's some movement here that you see, an artifact there.
It didn't handle the ducks and the birds over here, but in general, it does a pretty good job. And those are things that you could easily fix by going into the masks and making corrections by hand. So now let's take a look at how to do this in Helicon Focus. So we'll close out of Photoshop. Take the same four. Now we'll go to File, plug in extras, export to Helicon Focus. We'll export the four over there. This takes a lot less time in Helicon. Helicon opens, the four layers are already in there. We'll choose method B, which is the preferred method, but we'll try C as well. And you see that it aligns and generates the image right
Just
away.
like
So
that.
we'll take our magnifying glass. You can already see we don't have any movement issues there. Let's see how it did with the birds. Did a better job there. A little bit of movement. You can probably fix that. How did it do out in the distance? Did quite good. Excellent job. So at this point, all you have to do is hit save, save, and it'll save it back to your Lightroom folder.
As a TIFF?
It saves it back as a TIFF. You can get it, set it to send it DNGs, but you got to convert your RAWs to DNGs before you send it over there, and then it'll send back a DNG. Masks. No, you have to go into the masks first. Yeah, and it's much easier to do that in Helicon. There's a tab up there, you see rendering is the first one we were using, then retouching. You can do it in Photoshop when there's 3 or 4. The issue is finding which mask it is that you need to touch up, black or white. If you have 30 masks, if you have 30 images, there's no way in Photoshop. I mean, you got to turn them all off, go one by one, look for it. In Helicon, if you turn on the rendering, we're not going to talk about that tonight, but what it allows you to do is if you had a problem here, you would put the cursor here and it would tell you which of the images it used for that particular thing. So, and it would pull it up and you could look and say, oh yeah, that's screwed up. I'll drop down one image and oh, that's better. So then you just, it's like using a clone stamp tool. You just hit it with a pen and it changes the mask. Much, much easier. So it's not only a speed advantage. Okay. Yes. Oop. Go ahead.
You look at the touch screen.
No, I was using the joystick only because you can't use the touch screen on the camera when you're recording on the Atomos up on top. Otherwise, I would be using the touch screen. Yeah, the touch screen's accurate enough. And the other thing, because the Atomos was on and we were recording it, the other thing that you'll see on the back, if you turn on focus peaking, and focus peaking is where the image, the part of the image that's in focus will be red. So, when you touch that area, that'll light up in red. You touch another area, that'll light up in red. So you can actually go through the image very quickly and see which areas are in focus. It doesn't transmit through the HDMI to the recorder, however. And this one. This is just a little later. So we're out here at Marsh Trail, so let's give this a whirl. We are in manual focus. The stabilizer is off. So these are the kind of images, where you're going to have lots of grass. You can see that the grass is, we have movement now. When I talked earlier about the advantage of, normally you wouldn't shoot this at 5.6, but you can jump up to 1/320th,
And
you're
when
going to
you
stop the
manually
grass
focus
movement.
that on the Canon, you
You'll
do have
stop the
the
birds
little
on
green
whatever,
thing that shows
one
that
it
you're in focus.
uses. And so that's the advantage that you have over trying to
One
take
shot there.
F-22.
We're gonna move over and maybe take a shot up here in this tree.
And on the Canon, you do have the indicator, when you're in focus. If you're not using focus peaking, you do have the little
And
green
we'll move over
indicator,
and
which helps.
maybe take a shot up here at this palm tree at the top.
And I would recommend when you're doing, even if you're on the tripod, you see we have a
Sure, we're gonna
2-second
take
delay.
one here in the island.
It's
in the
amazing.
middle.
When you're doing even flowers and you're at really high
That seems to be on the same
high
plane.
magnifications, I would absolutely use the 10-second because it took about
And
5
then
seconds
lastly,
for
we'll
it
go
to
out and try and
calm
get
down.
the birds out here. A little more definition on the tree line. And we'll use the
And so this is another
5X
technique
by pressing
where,
the magnify button.
you have
We can go
the
a little bit
magnifying glass, at least
farther
on
and
the
just
Canons,
dial that in.
that you can go to
See what's
5X or 10X. And so, since I'm manually
there.
focusing now, turning the ring, you can go and you can check it if you don't. With the fog, it was a little bit hard for it to
Take our last shot.
recognize what was going on out there.
All right, let's take a look at the other image that we took when it was a little less foggy, down closer to the tower at Marsh Trail. So we have our 5 images selected. We're in the develop module. We'll hit auto, brighten it up a little bit, probably increase that maybe just a little more. For sure, we'll warm that up. Go to shade, maybe a little bit of dehaze and clarity. Most important part here is that we remember that we've only worked on the first one, and you need
I
to
can't
sync
tell
it.
you how
So
many
we'll
times
hit
I've
the
forgotten
sync
that, and it
button,
won't
which is
work
down
then
beneath your
if you
panel there on
don't
the
sync
right.
it all the way across.
Sync dialog comes up. Be sure that check all is checked. Hit synchronize. It synchronizes the settings across all 5. We'll go over here to File, down to Plugin Extras, where we can find Helicon. It'll export the 5 of them fairly quickly over to Helicon. Took about a minute. We're ready to go. Method B was the recommended to start with. We'll let it do its thing.
So this is in real
Rewind,
time
and
when it does it. It
let's
really
take a
does
look
it
with the
that quick.
magnifying glass here at how we did. So pretty good there. Pretty good there.
Helicon is a Ukrainian company, much like
Grass
Luminar.
is down here, looking pretty good. And this is a
So the
different
difference
way of
between B
looking
and
at
C
it. Method
is
C,
just the difference in the algorithm. I find that you see it does more of an edge thing where the other one does
uses a different
looking
algorithm.
for areas. And I kind of like C a lot. The other difference is in levels of contrast, but you can see it's pretty darn sharp all the way through.
Not too bad. We can take care of that with Topaz or Lightroom. And
as I was saying on the video, there's nothing to stop you after the fact from running Topaz on this or whatever you want.
Lightroom folder.
If you end up running a stack and you end up using high ISO images, I would recommend that you denoise them before you send them over to be stacked because otherwise you're going to be stacking the noise. So. All right, so those are the 4 shots from that day, a 4-shot, a 5-shot, and another 4-shot. These are finished after the fact. So for macro for flowers and insects, it's a little bit different. Handheld is again possible, shooting in RAW. Same kinds of things, but it will require more images is the basic difference. So 10 to 200, landscape only 3 to 6. So let's talk for a second about what is diffraction. We keep hearing that. That's a physical term where at the high apertures, as the light comes through the aperture of the lens, it gets bent a little bit. So you wouldn't think that you would soften it, but I'm going to show you a series where you can absolutely see that. So we're going to be photographing this little tiny flower on the bushes in the yard, and we're not using any, we're using natural light. It was in the shade, as you can see. So here it is, shot with 5/6, 1/20th of a second, straight shot. So not a lot of depth of field, right? Here it is at f11. Now we had to jump up to 3200, because there is a little bit of wind out there. And it's better, but not that great. Here we are at f32. The Canon 100 macro goes to f32, so that's pretty high up. And it's, pretty good. And you'd say, well, gee, that looks pretty good, Jim. There's a lot of depth of field there on that little tiny object. So those are all single images. So now we'll go and we'll do it 5/6, 70 shots in Helicon focus. So now you can see stuff we never saw on the other one. It's incredible. And this is natural light. And then if you use the flash, you get a little more contrast. So that's basically the difference, and you can prefer one over the other. And then the flash, we took how many photos? 18. The flash will keep up. If you think the flash won't keep up, we're only shooting the flash at 1/16th power. So even though we're on continuous, flash is going to keep up. And here we are. Oh, I wonder what the iPhone does, because the iPhone's pretty good. So there's the iPhone, and it's actually, not bad, does pretty good, but not as good as stacking it. Here's the iPhone plus gigapixel, got a little better, but not really a lot. And so there's diffraction, f32, 5/6, it's 70 shots. So that's the difference. And you would think that at f32 you'd be in focus, but you're not. Going to get to that. And that is the difference between, and it was actually done automatically, okay, in the software. However, the difference, the problem with Canon is that other than your R7 or R5 Mark II, the rest of the Canons won't allow you to do the focus bracketing with the flash, because focus bracketing defaults to the electronic shutter. And for all the other cameras, including the new, this is a R6 Mark III, a brand new camera. It's a couple weeks old. It doesn't handle the flash. So that means you have to do what you were saying is, and we'll talk about it, is doing it by hand. Either twisting the barrel as the shutter's held down or moving yourself in and out. Very difficult to do. So that's the advantage of either using, the workaround is to use a constant light or to buy an OM systems.
Jim,
Yeah.
the camera select that, or did you select?
Now the way it works, you'll see it coming up here. You're going to focus the camera. You're in automatic focus. You're going to focus on the closest item to the camera. You're going to tell it the number of shots. You're going to tell it how wide you want between each shot, and you're going to press the button. Yeah.
Chose 100 for that.
And later in the talk, you'll see it depends. Absolutely. So the thing you need to understand is take more than you need. Because when you go into Lightroom and you look at it and it starts out of focus, you'll see it starts out of focus, in focus, goes for 30. It starts to drop out, pick one and export those. Because what you don't want, and those of you who saw Lisa's talk on the F3C talk the other night. She shot everything at 2.8. Why? Because she wanted the creamy background. So the problem with that is you need to shoot a lot of shots, but you have to make sure you shut it off at some point where you're not, when it goes out to infinity, it'll try and stack those out there and you'll get a busy background. She was trying to achieve creamy backgrounds by being at 2.8. So to your point, you're going to select in Lightroom only those that look like they contribute to the stack. That's your choice. So the manual method, you can use a focus rail. That can help. Nobody uses a focus rail anymore because we have the automatic function in the camera. But if you're doing insects, like you have the Canon 5X, as do I. So if you're doing high magnification, you're doing, the eyes of a jumping spider, you're better off using not the automatic, but actually using the focus rail. And the focus rail, what it does is it just, every turn of this dial, if you can see that here, moves the camera forward 1 millimeter. So you're going to do your 70 shots, typically about 1/4 of a millimeter each time. So, and you can't touch the camera. So, it's going to take you forever. So the focus rail isn't used really anymore other than when you're doing, jumping spiders and insects, typically in an indoor studio. There you go. Feel free to rent mine for low cost. So the other ways of doing it, handheld. We'll get to the automatic, but first there's two methods: the push method and the ring method. I kind of alluded to that earlier. So the push-in method is you're going to take the camera and you're just going to drop it on the floor. No, you're going to focus on the subject closest you can get to the subject. And you want to be in close and you're looking at your screen and you are going to hold the shutter down and you're going to move in slowly and take all those shots. The other method, which is on the next slide, called the ring method, is you're going to put your hand under here and this is your focus ring. So now you're looking at it, and this is, I think, the easier one. You got it in, and now you're going to push that down and slowly turn the focus ring. And so you can see the flash doesn't have a problem keeping up. So I wish Canon would change their software. It has to do with the sensor on the 5 Mark II is backside illuminated. It's much faster sensor readout. It'll handle the flash. The other sensors that the Canon won't handle it. But the OM systems do, and some of the Nikons do, like the Z9 does, Joe. You can do flash pretty high speed. The flash, I was at 1/200th, the highest sync setting. No, frames per second this is in mechanical, so it's 12 or 14, 12. Card's fast enough on these because, yeah. It won't run over the buffer. It depends on your camera. If you had, if you have an SD card, you really need the V90s, which are expensive as hell. They use those for video. That'll keep up. This has an SD card, but it also has the CF Express, so that's going to keep up. Yeah. So there was the ring and so the diffusers. Lighting is important. If you watch any macro, for flowers or whatever, Cygnus Tech is an Australian company. That's this one here. I like it because it's easy to put together. There is a Florida company, AK, that makes one for about the same price. It's a little harder to put together, but it takes only a couple days to get it versus 3 weeks to get it from Australia. And then you can use a constant light. This is in order to get around and use the automatic function. I went to this route, which is just a constant light. Clip it on the side on the cage on the camera, hold it over the flower, and you're good to go. There it is. That was this afternoon. So handheld with the flash and 25 shots. So it is possible to get great definition. It does take some practice. This is handheld. This is how many? 13 shots. And here's a tip for you. When you don't know what this is, put the image into ChatGPT and ask it. And then ChatGPT came back and said, "Oh, you're in South Florida." I go, "Yes, in South Florida it would be X." You were supposed to tell people that. The other tip. The other tip is the dragonflies are very docile first thing in the morning at 7 a.m. when it's cold. Yeah, they're much like the iguana. Yep. Yeah, I mean the weevil was taken with the 5X lens. The weevil is probably a 1/16 of an inch, and I was surprised when I got the shot that the ants didn't move. See the ants on the top. So handheld is certainly possible. Here's we're going to photograph that. That's about 1/8 of an inch, and they're moving around. So you got to wait for them, and that's all handheld. So when you're taking the shots, this is basically what's in focus. You see that tiny little sliver? And then this was 17 shots and done in Photoshop, and it missed. See, it's missing up here. It's just the angle that I was at, the fly was at. And this was with the R7. And you get to a 35 stack, you can see did pretty good. This one was 4 shots because I moved in and then out, back out. There were actually 4 shots in focus here and 4 shots later in the stack. And I took the 8 and just applied it, and it did really good with that. So it isn't like they have to be consecutive shots. So take more than you think. Use the diffuse flash is really your shutter. Early morning in the dew, they're really docile, no wind, overcast, lots of practice. So for automatic, there is a handout, which we didn't hand out. Oh, we'll get that. I have a handout for you with all the different, how to do it in Canon, Nikon, Sony, OM, and Lumix. So to do that, we'll go to here, and we'll see it in Canon. It's pretty similar in everything else.
Let's take a look at where in the menu you find the controls for enabling focus bracketing. This is a Canon R6 Mark III. So we'll hit the menu key, and it is the 5th tab over, where you have multiple exposure and focus bracketing as your 2 choices. And the first thing we want to do is enable focus bracketing. So we'll enable it. And you saw there that you can put them in a new folder. So this is one of the many variables you have to consider with regard to your subject. So for a landscape, you may not even need to use the auto feature in the camera because it's only going to take 3 to 6 shots. But the number of shots, as we've seen in some of the examples, will vary depending on how deep you want it to go. So we can vary these upwards to as many as we need depending on the depth that you think you need. The other variable that you need to think about is the focus increment. As we've seen in some of the examples, sometimes you want a very fine increment and a large number of shots. And so we would
Particularly if you're at a low
take
f-stop.
that and move that down to a very narrow increment, and combined with the large number of shots, we're going to get a very fine stack of
You notice it
photos.
defaults to
If,
4.
however, we were doing landscape, where the increment between each photo is going to be much wider. So this is another one of the variables that you have to consider. I would recommend exposure smoothing. This will smooth out some of the variation in the lighting. And then we have the ability to either enable or disable the depth composite, and this is Canon's way of putting the JPEG and doing it in camera. So that's the process for the Canon cameras, at least from the R7 on. The R5 doesn't have the composite feature, and each camera has a different set of terminologies and locations for this software. So I've put together a list here of videos you can watch that are specific for either Nikon, Sony, or the OM Systems cameras. Let's take a look at.
So for flowers, 2.8 was what Lisa liked to use for the creamy background. You could get away with 5.6. Insects, you need to take a lot of images, a lot. So let's see, how many shots do you really need to take? So with this lily here, I'm shooting automatic, and you're focusing on the closest thing, which was here, and it was 30 shots. Now here, you're shooting the stamen or whatever it is way at the top there, and you're asking for a lot of depth. And so this is constant light, by the way, not the flash. This was in the house. So, you can have a wider gap or more shots. So there's 70 shots. This was 30 shots. And the problem you see with the 70 shots is now you're starting to get the background in focus. So, right. Better to err on too many and deal with it in Photoshop or cut those out of the stack. Same thing here. This, I don't know what this is, but you're talking about a lot of depth and I'm shooting down into it. But I was able to get it with 24 shots. So it's going to vary. That's probably 1.5 inches, 1.25 inches, that flower. So, and this is in Helicon with 20 shots. That was handheld, by the way. So Photoshop and Helicon are your two options. You have Zarine and Luminar. I would say that Photoshop does a pretty good job for landscapes, and if you're not going to get real serious into it, it's just slower and it's a little harder to make mistakes. But there are other times when I've done Helicon shots and it was crap and the Photoshop was good. So there's really, you got to try them both. We've seen the demo already. I guess we can watch it again if you want, but it's, pretty straightforward. as opposed to so Helicon is a buy one time. I think I bought the lifetime license, $115. You don't really need the pro or the premium. So it's a little pricey, but it depends on how many you're doing. Plugin, it's a plugin. If you noticed, I went to File, Export to, and then it'll return it back to. So these are some outside shots. These are all handheld, 30 shots, 13 shots, 30 shots. This is the difference between one is constant light and one is flash. There's a little more contrast in the one. That's the flash. So I kind of like the look of it's a little softer light with the, even with the diffuser on, that was pretty harsh. This is running it through denoise and sharpen. So you can see, it does improve it. So don't forget that you can do that. So you can see quite a bit of improvement. So this is constant light. There's your flash shot. And this is 1:1 with the high magnification Canon EF. So Lisa defined the other night, we probably take mostly close-ups as opposed to macro. Her definition and the official definition is you got to be 1:1 or greater to be macro. So that means the subject has to be life size on the sensor. Most of what we take when we go to the garden is close-up. I know Frank likes to shoot too with the 100 to 500 and shoot the lily pads and the lotuses because you can reach them. But that's going to be close-up photography. That's not going to be macro. But it works. So here's when things go wrong. You get ghosting. You get these that look like you can see these little streaks that looks like we have a meteor shower going on in there, and it's soft in the rows. And this was done with 30 shots and done in Helicon. So how do you fix that? Well, we went to 70 shots, auto bracket, increased the bracket, the size from 1 to 5, and constant light, didn't change anything. And, you're getting more detail. And so you'll see here, you can change it to black and white. Don't forget about the creative possibilities. So it did deliver a lot more definition. When things go wrong, this was in Photoshop. So we're talking about, this was movement. This is movement. You can see where it's picking up the background and it's having a real struggle with the background. Artifacts up at the top. And you can tell, look at the motion. You see the stack at the very top left, all the different images. There was a lot of movement when I was taking that shot. So that didn't help. It did a terrible job on it too. It was operator error on my part. No, you need to trash them. You probably have, you have about a 30% chance on these. It's not high. Here was that same old dragonfly, you're starting to pick up the background, because it went too far. You see the double wings because you move. You see double legs. Those are impossible to fix. So that's a trash. So don't go and take one set of images. You know, if it's something you really like, do the stack a few times because you run into situations where things go haywire. So in summary here, Helicon I think is better. It's more specialized, but it's a lot faster and just depends on your needs. So this is with Helicon and that's with Photoshop. The difference, and you really can't see it on the slide too much, is the detail in here on both of them. They're both pretty good. So do use the tripod. Don't shoot moving subjects. Neither software is perfect. So again, check for halos. I would highly recommend that when you do a stack, whether it's in Photoshop or Helicon, you should go to 100% and check the whole image. And don't take just one. You'll be disappointed. So focus stacking creates, some nice technical or some creative possibilities and technical possibilities that we couldn't get. And the camera autofocusing or stacking really does simplify the process. Again, here's the things. I'll have the handout, get that out to you. These are some YouTube channels. Nature World, I think he's 17 or 18 years old. He is terrific, absolutely terrific. I think all these guys might be Brits or Australian. So what we're going to do to practice this is on Saturday, we'll meet 9 a.m. at the Botanic Garden and we'll practice. It's, go about your own. You can bring your tripod. You just can't block the path. So anybody that wants to come and practice, I'll be there, answer some questions. And then on Wednesday, the 14th, we'll have a Zoom meeting where if you struggle with the processing, we can go over the processing more detail. So concentrate on just getting stacks on Saturday and trying to process them in Photoshop. And then we can talk through some of the issues you have on Wednesday. So that's it. No, I got one I'm going to answer because smart aleck Nick over there. Yeah. All right. Here's how they did it. So this is a 4x5 technical field camera. They were using 8x10s. The advantage they have is, okay, I could be over here. Yeah, somebody's going to have to hold it, however. So we have a film plane here. Film goes in here. The ground glass is back here. You're focusing back there. You have a lens here. And the lenses on field cameras are totally different than ours. So there's a front half of the lens. There's one that's equally big going back into the camera. Every lens has a shutter. Makes them very expensive. So the lens plane is basically right here. We have our rock. We have our tree. We have our mountain over there. And so those are slices, right? And this lens will go to f/45, but let's just say we shot it f/22 or f/16. We have a range, right, in focus from maybe 600 or 700 feet down to maybe 8 feet. So we're missing the rock here. So how did they get the rock? They take, and the physical principle of shifting this front lens or tilting it down. Now, you don't tilt it 45 degrees. You tilt it about 10 degrees. And what's going to happen is that column of focus is going to shift from here to here. And now it's going to run from the mountain through the tree to the rock, and then it'll intersect the film plane somewhere down there. So that's how they did it. Now you're going to have to change the composition too, because you change this. They have the ability to shift the lens up and down as well. So you can, shift this. So they can go up and down. and, recompose, basically. The other advantage they have and why this was great for architectural is if you tilt this up, what do we get? We get the converging lines, right? So what do? They just make that parallel. This one also shifts, makes it parallel, away goes the converging lines. So that's how they did it. But they can only do one shot. All right, that's it. Thanks. Hey, questions?
Nice to meet you too. Training aid. Outstanding. I have you do
What?
at F3C. Conference.
I actually wrote two different versions. Oh, you did? Oh, okay. January. What month are we in? January, and it will end on the 15th of February. And we're looking forward to it. We have the directors, for the most part, the board of directors is going to be judging this time. So we'll see how good they are. I'm sorry? Who should you pay? Well, you know what the directors are. That's the first thing. Second thing's a video. Yeah, questions.
You're gonna send something out, meeting.
Generally, your special categories are wide open. So it could be creative, it could be monochrome, it could be color, it could be fractals. I don't know. What else can you do, Jim?
Stacks.
Stacks. Yeah. So whatever, the judges are going to decide how they like it. So that's the criteria. Any other questions? Going once? Going twice? Okay. Only goes twice.
Hey, Woody, knock it off for a second before you turn that tree into toothpicks. I've got news.
News? Don't tell me Marge finally let you switch to decaf.
Ha, better. She's letting me fly down to Bradenton for the F3C photography conference. March 27th through 29th, my friend.
A photography conference? What do they teach? How to look photogenic in a bird bath?
Not exactly. We're talking hands-on workshops, top-notch speakers, gear demos, photo walks. 3 whole days of sharpening my skills and meeting other shutterbugs.
Well, I like bugs, but I've never had a shutterbug.
No bugs, Woody. Just photographers wanting to learn, and 2 amazing keynote speakers. Do you remember us meeting Deb Sandage? She took those amazing photos and videos of our flamingo friends. She's speaking on Sunday.
Sounds fancy, but what's in it for you besides a bunch of slideshows?
The gear, Woody. The gear. The big sponsors are bringing their best toys. Canon, Nikon, Sony, Tamron, OM Systems. If you have questions, they have answers. Lenses longer than your neck. Cameras faster than you're pecking.
Careful, you'll come home with gear Marge won't let in the nest.
Probably true, but it's not just about the toys. It's about learning from the best, meeting fellow shutterbugs, and soaking up inspiration.
So, sunshine, new friends, famous speakers, and gear galore. Sounds like a photographer's paradise.
Exactly. That's why I'm going, Woody. I'm taking a workshop on portrait photography. By the time I'm back, I'll be picture perfect. Maybe I can get my portrait on the money, Woody.
Deal. Just promise me one thing. Get a decent portrait this time. The last one looked like you'd flown straight into a window.
For the best selection of lectures, workshops, and outings, sign up now. I hope to see you at the conference. Don't delay, and please take advantage of the special room rates while they are still available at Bradenton area hotels. So what are you waiting for? Go to www.f3c-conference.org.
That's all AI. Including the voices.
Any questions? So the special hotel rates are available for a limited time. If you want to take advantage of them, they're on the website towards the bottom of the main page. Take a look if you're interested. Okay. Yeah. Speak up, my friend, or come on up here. Come on up here. Come on up here so YouTube can hear you too. Yeah, I had to drag you up here.
There's a lot of events going on that same weekend. There's a big music concert going on up there. There's a couple of other conferences and things like that. The room rates are going up rapidly. In the last month, they went up about $50 to $100. So the room rates that we have right now are the best you're going to find in town. And we checked out the hotels. They're nice. So if you're going to go, you better grab the rooms real quick.
Thanks, Joe. Yep.
Love the video. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, Christina Skibicki, are you gonna come up and talk to us, or are you just gonna start the video? Oh, come on, Christina. One of these days we gotta get you up here to talk to the people. All right, here we go. Theme show time.
Last four digits, 2738. Wonderful. There you go.